Time for more of the Shadow Manga. Just a little bit of news, we did get confirmation of how much more of the manga is left, and unfortunately that is only 2 more chapters. So, longer than I was anticipating, but shorter than I'd like. So it will probably be coming to an end in March. But this month we have not just 1, but 2 Shadow Manga to cover. As an addition to our normal chapter, Yuki Yamada was given the task of creating a tie-in story for the 3rd Sonic movie, Sonic X Shadow Tokyo Mission Episode 0. This was distributed alongside the film, with some copies being distributed to those who went to see it in theaters. I've always thought theater-exclusive promotional stuff is neat. I'm used to posters and very elaborate popcorn buckets, but I don't remember ever having a comic distributed that way. Stuff like that and the theater-exclusive Godzilla figures, I think it's just really cool. The manga is just short enough that I don't think it needs a whole separate video, so I'm including it in this one. This story takes place in the middle of Sonic 3, so light spoilers, but it's also spoilers for the first act of the movie, so how much that matters will vary from person to person. I guess I should mention my feelings on the movie since I haven't really talked about it. I really liked it. I enjoyed it a whole lot. I don't think I have much to add that other people haven't already said. I do want to talk about it in depth at some point, but I also want to make sure I have something substantive and comprehensive to say, so I'll probably wait to figure something out. This story takes place between Shadow's escape from Gun and meeting Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles. What I really like immediately is that the first page is pretty much a Radical Highway reference, where Shadow is confronted by Gun's forces and manages to evade them, ending up in Shibuya. I really like this one bit where Shadow does spot someone who looks like Maria and has a little moment before being confronted by Gun's forces again, at which point we get to see the battle that led to all the destruction that Team Sonic came across in the final film, all in Amada's fantastic art style, including a bit where it looks like Shadow kicks someone so hard blood starts flying out of their nose. Not what I really expected in this tie-in, but really cool all the same. The story ends with Shadow finally coming face to face with Sonic and company, so it's pretty clear exactly where the movie picks up from. It's only 7 pages long, but I do like what's here. I'm a big fan of tie-ins that expand on events that are merely implied by its source material, and then folding in some story beats from Adventure 2 is definitely a plus. Up front, I need to say, this chapter is a really good one. Even in the context of this being a retelling of Shadow Generations, it does some really cool things, and I really think this story is coming together in a really cool way. The chapter picks up exactly where the previous one ended, with Black Doom introducing himself to Shadow. And I gotta mention, I love the way Amada draws Black Doom. It captures everything that's imposing and mysterious about him. I've always really enjoyed this character as a villain, and seeing him finally get to appear in comics outside of flashback or single panel cameos makes me very happy. Shadow quickly rushes his foe in an attempt to get him away from Maria, but finds his attack ineffectual and is immediately launched backward. Shadow quickly returns to his feet and puts himself in front of Maria to protect her. Black Doom then reveals Shadow's past to him. This stays pretty true to the games, but then Black Doom specifically begins to talk about the events of Shadow the Hedgehog, where we get the story's big twist, that this story isn't set before the events of Adventure 2, but Doom had in fact manipulated Shadow's memory in order to aid in his plan to help Shadow restore him. We get confirmation of certain events aboard the Ark being genuine, with others being fabrications, like making it appear that Black Doom's influence is what caused the raid aboard the Ark, and anything else, Doom just completely erased. I love this panel, the composition subtly including Shadow's eyes, and also giving us a glimpse at the rest of the main cast in Amada's style, including my second favorite character. If I may indulge for a second, I'm going to assume this is a shot of Amy's plea for Shadow to help stop the Ark from falling in Adventure 2. That moment has been taken from her and given to other characters a few different times, so anything referencing it as is, I appreciate. Also, I really hope Amada just gets to work on, like, an ongoing Sonic manga. I know it would be a little rough to have both a Japanese and American Sonic comic going, especially because IDW is getting translated, albeit slowly, but I think it can work. Doom also reveals that he created Bug-Eye to manipulate Shadow, so he wasn't Doom like I was thinking, but I am going to consider him a member of the Black Arms. It's close enough for me. Now, with Shadow having collected all the orbs, Doom is able to transform into his final form, Devil Doom. And the artwork is so good. Again, a form that's only gotten glimpsed in other comic media for Sonic, now getting a proper focus. And Amada is the perfect artist for it. We even get him going on a mini kaiju rampage. I love it. As Doom prepares to absorb Shadow, Maria starts trying to think of something to do, leading Bug-Eye to begin gloating. However, Maria ends up thanking Bug-Eye, which confuses him as all he's done is deceive them. But she says because of him, she actually got to experience life outside the Ark again. And because of this kindness, as Black Doom gets ready to kill Maria, Bug-Eye ends up sacrificing himself to save her. I guess I'm kind of a sucker for the comic relief makes a tearful sacrifice thing, but I think it's done well here. Experiencing Bug-Eye's demise, though, ends up being what pushes Shadow over the edge, and he begins being consumed by his hate, which is exactly what Doom had been wanting. But Maria ends up pushing through the physical manifestation of Shadow's hatred and begins talking him through it, that he is not a hateful person, that he is the same person that he was when the two were aboard the Ark together, and that he cares for others. And this lets Shadow overcome the hate he feels and prepare to do battle with Devil Doom as the chapter ends. I really need to stress how excellently everything is pulled off in this chapter. The twist of the story is a masterful use of the medium. Now, what I mean by that is that if they did this in a video game with the setup being pre-Adventure 2 with Black Doom, people would immediately clock the whole thing was a trick, because why would they fundamentally alter the understanding of Shadow's story like that? With a manga adaptation of an existing story, a lot of us looked at it, and while we figured there was some form of manipulation happening, it was assumed overall, a lot of things were just a different direction the story was going in. Because if this was a potential starting point for new fans, which the franchise has an influx of right now, that it's simpler both for the writer and reader for continuity to be sort of flattened. This wouldn't affect the main continuity, and this as a separate piece would still aid in funneling people towards the franchise. But this is a great recontextualization of everything we've read. See, while the only real internal monologue the story had was Shadow's, I had just assumed that, as a reader, that we were in an omniscient perspective. But no, we were experiencing the narrative the same way Shadow was. So Shadow could be said to be unwittingly serving as an unreliable narrator. Which, while that is not an uncommon writing trick, it's employed very effectively here. Next, I think Amada understands Shadow and Maria's dynamic incredibly well. Shadow corruption stories have been done plenty of times, both in fanon and officially licensed material. I'll get to you eventually! But this story, like the one it's adapting, rebukes that as a concept. But this time, Shadow's been isolated from all his development. He doesn't know anybody in the main cast. All he has is his memories of Maria and what happened to her. But even then, this is taking it in an interesting direction. It's not just him fulfilling a promise he made to her or being driven by guilt. The memories are reminders of the type of person he has been, and also the type of person he should continue to strive to be. And it's the special connection those two had that highlights it. I've seen a few people ask in the past, when will Shadow get over Maria? But the short answer is, he won't. But in the way that the person you exist as now is in some way the product of every meaningful connection you've had. The manga is not finished, of course, though I imagine the next chapter will be a fight, and I hope the final chapter is giving Shadow 28 pages to say goodbye. I think this story deserves that. But I think this is also becoming one of my favorite Shadow stories in comics, meaning I'm ranking it alongside my all-time favorite Sonic comic arc. That could be recency bias. I'm definitely going to revisit the story as a whole when it's finished, but it is really good. Again, definitely hoping Amada continues to get Sonic-related work. Thank you so much for watching. Got a little deep there at the end, but this chapter did make me think about stuff. If you want to support me, you can do so over at patreon.com/hsquid, and a special shout out to my $5 patrons, Ned Rex, Nate DM990, Diddly Do, and Queer Kaiju. See y'all in the next video.